Welcome back. So in terms of violence in the run-up to general elections, what is the trend so far? Is violence on the increase? And can this election truly be free and fair? I spoke with Mr. Keerthi Tennekoon of the Campaign for Free and Fair Elections to find out more.
There are 25 incidents reported until now, and home and home fighting is the key in these elections. And both the main political parties their supporters and the candidates are having a very aggressive campaigning against their colleagues, and the discipline of the inner party is having make headlines in these days.
So what do you mean home and home fighting? Can you clarify that a little bit?
I mean the candidates and their supporters from the same political party who are contesting under the same list, of course, is having a very aggressive election campaigning for their preferential votes. And this election system is all about the preferential votes, and somehow they want to get elected, and that has made so much of election violence. And we see throughout the country, even in a small town, there are huge illegal cutouts, banners and posters. These illegal propaganda activities is leading all the way to the election violence.
So apart from monitoring election violence and these malpractices, what can be done to prevent this?
It's election monitoring is not all about the election violence, of course. The structural violence is taking throughout this election, for that matter even in the last elections. We don't see the 17th amendment is implemented, and we don't see the independent election commission is taking place, and there's no election, there's no independent police commission is down there, and that has led all the malpractices, and the politicians are capable of influencing the people in the grassroots level. This structural violence has led this electoral system is totally disturbing to the voters and the stakeholders.
So what kind of mechanisms do you think has to be in place in order for it to be a free and fair election?
It's a very basic law and order situation in the country must be prevailed throughout the election time. What it is very unfortunate that we don't see that sort of a election the law enforcement taking place, because we see throughout the election law is violated. When you go walk around to the streets, you see thousands of election law or violating issues down there, and that has disturbing the electoral process as a whole, number one, and that gives, I mean, it's damaged the credibility of the electoral process.
Okay, so nothing is being done about these violations?
No, it's the key is the election commissioner. How much dedicated he is to try to do his job, of course. It is now, I mean, he is making directives, but most of them are not implemented at the grassroots level, and election commission is not doing anything about that. He got immense power. I mean, he is not a man without power, of course, he got immense power, but its dedication to implement that is under the question mark now.
Will there be any special measures taken by monitoring organizations such as CAFFE to prevent vote rigging or to watch out for those?
No, number one, we are very seriously taking the situation in the north and the east, because after 30 years they are going to vote freely in a general election. This is the first time they are having a space to vote freely, of course. Their voice must be heard, number one. And there are some areas of this country well known for election violence and election rigging, especially in the Kandy district and Galle, Hambantota and Anuradhapura Puttalam. These areas, the environment to campaign freely, to have to make their voices heard, I mean, for each and every political party, each and every ethnic group for that matter, is matters, of course. If we can have the multiple voices and choices, and that's all about free and fair elections.
So in these areas where malpractices are more common, what is being done?
We are trying to have a voter education programs throughout the country and ask these people go ahead and vote for whatever your political preferentials are. And in the same time, we try to discard the people, the candidates and the supporters who are doing election malpractices, and we make a very open appeal to the voters: do not vote for these culprits, because it does not help the democracy democracy at a whole.
Are these measures effective, do you think?
Throughout, yes, to some extent, because I mean the people, when these people are doing the election malpractices, and the people comes out and they do not vote for these sort of people.
You mentioned the North and East. How is the campaigning going there? What's it looking like?
In the north, of course, there is no campaigning started yet, and we don't see huge cutouts and banners throughout the Jaffna Peninsula, and it is a very good side. But the bad side is that we don't see any campaigning at the grassroots level too. It is very disturbing. The people, the candidates are not going to the grassroots level. The people are not taking the part of the electoral campaigning, and that is the bad position, because when it comes to the democracy, the participation of the voters is the key. The citizens must take place in the voting process. So that will ensure the electoral integrity, of course.
Speaking of the voters, what can they do to ensure a free and fair election?
No, whenever you see a malpractice taking place or something goes in favor of one selected candidate, you must have to raise your voice, and that is the only way you can ensure you can take part of the electoral process and ensure the democracy in the country, of course.
Okay, and finally, what is your prediction for the upcoming general election? Will it truly be free and fair, or is it too early to tell?
It's too early to tell, but we got a huge challenge on our shoulders to show that to do everything possible to make sure that we are having a free and fair election in this country.